could have been the preface to one of my other rants, which is about space. Or not space, the
I was going
final
to say, like, you
frontier.
need space around you.
No, but personal space. Also, I just noticed we're matching.
I did too. Just before we went live, I'm like, hey, navy
Team
blue is
uniforms,
the official
baby.
color of Fandom Social.
It is. Okay, so all right, everyone, focus. Cold opening's happening now. So it's not lost on everyone that I go to the movies 2 to 3 times a week. Like I'm in theaters. I watch it, right? I get the most out of my AMC Subs Pass.
You're so fancy.
The show is not sponsored by AMC yet, but it will be if they'll ever unblock me. But so I do a thing. I don't ever go on like weekends. I hate it. I hate the crowds. I don't like the people that are like right behind me and above me. But I had to go recently because like everything was sold out because of Barbenheimer, right? And I wanted to watch them. So theaters are still, sort of coming around from that. But I went to watch Haunted Mansion, and there's still a ton of people. I think I went on like a Thursday. There's hardly ever anyone there on Thursdays anymore.
Okay.
So I always sit in the same place. I do the same thing. I bring my water bottle. I bring my pretzels, or I bring my
old man.
I bring my cashews. I bring cashews if I'm feeling good about myself. I love it. Shut up. And so if there's no one there, what I'll do is like, I'll move because I just book a seat. There's hardly anyone there. So I'll just move. So the other day I was watching Haunted Mansion and I moved down 2 rows so that I'm not like at eye level with it. Like I'm a little bit up. Also Haunted Mansion is fantastic. It's really fun. Okay. So this guy sits down 2 seats away from me. He's the only other. What a loser. He's there by himself, right? This guy.
Sure.
So he's there and he's just like, I think you're actually in the seat that I was going to be in. He's in the wrong row as well. So we're having this like power struggle between 2 losers who are always at the movies by themselves. And I'm like, dude, there's no one in 2 of these rows. And it's like when like men will know what I mean when you're like at a sporting event and there's a row of urinals and somebody goes right next to you and I'm like, dude, there are plethoras. He did the same thing and he was like scoffing the whole time in this movie. I didn't move.
Scoffing at the movie or at this situation, at you?
I'm vain, so I think it was me. And he's just like,
I think this scoff is about you. Don't you?
Is that a Taylor Swift reference?
Was it this guy? I sit right next to people.
That is frustrating. Hello, Alex.
If you were the only one in the theater, he would come sit right next to you.
Yeah, it's just annoying. I'm like, I just don't like sitting next to people in movies anymore. Yes.
You know what's interesting is that we are many decades apart, you and I, and I love going to a crowded movie theater. I love going to Comic-Cons. I love going to fairs. Any place where there's lots of people having a shared experience because I love the energy of the movie theater with everyone. I like the talking, the reacting, the laughing, the yelling. I love that energy. Otherwise, I would just watch it at home by myself. Or I would go on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. when no one's there. Like, I don't understand. It's so funny because you are such an old man waiting to become old. And it's so funny. Like, I'm the age that you act like right now.
And you can attest to this. Me and Autumn have worked a couple of Comic-Cons together, and we worked the most recent one where we were both like on, right? The last one that we worked together with Sideshow. We were there, and it was crazy. And as soon as the mask is off, and we're both free to go be ourselves, me and Autumn, totally different people. There was like a little, if anyone was there, and Autumn will know what I'm talking about, there's like a little room that's underneath the stage.
Yeah.
I went right in there, and I was just like on my phone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I was quiet. And then Autumn's out there just hobnobbing with people.
Hey, because I love it. It's so
how many people came up to you?
I'm 80.
I know. And then how many times did people say, like, you guys are very different live? Like, Paul does all the talking, and then, like, seemed like he almost, like, was, like, anxious and didn't want to be around us. I'm like, there's too many people here.
And the thing is, it's not that you're being fake. It's that you've used up all of your social battery all at once. You use it all up. Like, everything that you're doing is sincere. It's all real. That's really who you are. But as soon as it's done, You're done. No more talking, no more
Yep.
people, no more interacting.
I'm done. I'm over it. But can't be that over. We just started the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Happy Sunday. Yes, we have a show today. You should have known that. I mean, me and Autumn are incredible at marketing.
Plus, we're so consistent with our schedule. Like, how could you guys not know when the show is?
There was a solid week and a half where me and Autumn were like, I was in Hawaii, and I touched down, and as soon as I was back, Autumn was in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we just didn't talk until like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, welcome into episode 5 of Fandom Social. This is social horror part 2. We are talking. Sure. We are talking Jordan Peele. This is the first part being episode 4, where we discuss the social horror through the lens of Alfred Hitchcock. This is through the lens of Jordan Peele. We have a bit of a different show structure today, but we do have a couple things we want to do first. One, hi everyone, welcome, and I'm going to bring up a few of these because I don't want to make we have our new producer here. I don't want to make him do it just yet, so we'll do it. So, Steve, hey bud. We can see you.
Hello.
Alex, we obviously know you're here. Pierre, hey man.
Hello.
It's good to see some new names in here. Look at that. He's got like a little, is that Mando?
Oh, what is that? Oh,
Mando and Grogu?
Yeah.
Okay. Pierre's obviously 9. Anthony Kennedy. Sup, peeps? Are you calling us lovable marshmallows that people only want to talk to around Easter? Because it wouldn't be the first time people called us that.
If we sit out in the sun, we don't look great.
And you put us in a microwave, we will explode.
It's true.
Andrew, what's up, man? Who here has a dog? I need to blame it for eating the homework this week.
I got you covered.
Autumn does.
You got it.
Spike. Laura, hello.
Hello.
Look at the cat. Look at the sassy cat.
So sassy.
John, hello, my friend. Ooh,
hello.
John's kind of matching us. Look at his profile picture is matching us.
That's his audition. Shout out
John,
to the name.
You have the job. John, you have the job. You are way behind.
There's
so much work to do.
So much work
Desmond,
to do.
what's up? What's up? Hey, Tenchi, good to see another familiar name here. Hello. Let's see who. I hope if I met Jin, I don't think I said hi to you.
Hello. Yeah, today is actually Sunday, all day long until midnight.
Very nice, Autumn. Quality.
Oh,
Thank you,
Chris
Steve.
Thorne. Yeah.
I just needed that to be.
I think because he likes to be. Chris Thorne says, back from SDCC and still tired. I got to see him, and yes, I agree with you completely. I'm still exhausted. Not done being sleepy from that yet. Yeah.
Gina B. Collectin. I small, so I don't mind crowd. But I'm with Paul. Ever since the pandemic, I refuse. Honestly, it has been since the pandemic. My social battery. I was like, oh, I'm an inside cat for sure. I've learned. Or maybe everyone knew but me. Alexa says we love the bear merch.
Love it.
Original Burf, everyone. I assume you've all seen the bear and you're caught up, and we will be doing a spoiler episode today. Toy Quest. Hey. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I was trying to help. I'll stop.
What's up, guys?
What's
Hi.
Up?
Hello.
Hey.
Gina has a great collection channel.
Yeah, there's some more than one person here with channels and brands and things to do. You guys, Chris Thorne, by the way, I'll have to get it out of my collection, but he makes these amazing zombie portraits that he can commission. So you can send him a photo of yourself and he will send you back an amazing drawing of yourself as a zombie. Mine is so good and scary that my kids will not allow it to be out because it upsets them too much to see me as a blue-haired zombie. It's really good. So yeah,
mine. Did you see the one he did for me? It's right there. Yeah. He never did one for me. Well, hey, if you guys are here and you have a channel, a screenplay, anything you'd like to promote, drop it in the Facebook group, drop it in here, just let us know, we'll bring it up.
Anything.
Ooh, manifesto.
Doesn't matter what it is, we're gonna promote it.
This counts as our manifesto. Let's keep it a buck. All right, everyone. Well, we do have a bit of a different show structure that was changed approximately 3 minutes before the show by Autumn. So
hey guys, I have an idea.
That's great. So we've got an intro. We're gonna have you all meet our new producer. We've got a game we're playing. We're gonna do our deep dive our Explorathon, and then we're going to tell you guys, what our new, or actually no, we're going to tell you all what our.
We usually do the Explorathon first, and then our deep dive. We're going to switch that for reasons which you will find out as we go along. We're going to do our deep dive first today. And
so we're going to do our deep dive
all
first.
Set, man. Alex, your entire life and everything that you say and everything you do is your manifesto. It's covered. We all get it. We get it.
Hey, Dwayne, there you are. Hello.
Fine.
And also, again, while you guys are here, welcome to Fandom Social. If this is your first time here, this is our 5th episode already, Autumn.
Yeah, where you been?
We're coming up on our bicentennial, I think, which is our bicycle anniversary.
How that works.
So if you guys are so inclined, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Comment like crazy in this live chat. Like it like crazy. That does help us get this out to there. Spam it. Who can count the highest comment by comment? That's
on every one of our social channels.
On every one of our social channels, yeah. So, but again, thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate you. But without further ado, let's get started because we have a producer who's just sitting back there, hanging out, not doing a goddamn thing, and we're paying him. We're not paying him. So, all right. Well,
he's earning every penny that we're not paying him.
He sure isn't. So, we would like to. I feel like I should give some preamble, but he also didn't give me anything. So I can do a
no one will know.
So he is royalty. He comes from a family of incredible performers. He has just a gift of finding himself around people who are so talented. But he is really an incredible writer. I believe he's done some cinematography. He's done stuff in film, and now he works on cameras on stuff that I literally don't understand. And for some reason, he's decided to help us. Yeah. So without further ado, please welcome Daniel.
Hello.
I'm moving it now, Autumn. I'm sorry. I know you hate it.
No problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, there we go.
Right on. Hello, everyone. My name's Daniel. I am the newest producer here on Fandom Social. Happy to be aboard this crazy train.
Well, thank you. And how did Paul find you? Just randomly in the street?
It was a resume. Thank you, Daniel.
We go way back.
It was a resume.
Yeah, it was a resume. I applied. There was a full, fair job interview process.
On the LinkedIn no nepotism job posting.
Involved. Yeah. There was a LinkedIn. I sent in my application. He had me do a self-tape audition, and here we are.
Nice.
I did that.
That's Paul's cousin, y'all.
That's my cousin.
Paul's cousin. We go way back. He's 3 months older than me, so there's about a 3-month lapse there.
You can see.
And look.
Yeah, as you can tell by the hair.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Daniel has the good beard, the good talent. Yeah, he's fine. So
some say the talent is genetic.
The hardest part of your job is going to be keeping us on a schedule.
Sure.
We're already behind.
I'm here to mind timers.
Yeah. Okay. So before we actually do let you go, Daniel, do you want to talk about a little bit? I mean, Daniel, a lot of you guys would know this because he's a really a behind the scenes kind of person. But you're also a Sideshow alum.
I am.
You were there. You were there for a bit. Yeah. What are you up to these days?
So now I work at a camera company here in Burbank. I repair cinema cameras for the movie industry. So movie industry adjacent, but I used to be a licensed editor with Final Cut. I used to do a lot of PA work on productions here and there. This is my first technical director / line producer gig. So I'm hoping I don't mess it up too bad, but I feel like we're
really impossible, really impossible to do any worse than Paul and I have done so far without you. So
welcome to the show.
But winning here. Nothing but up to go for you here.
Yeah, nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, Daniel is everyone's favorite Nepo baby now. So
absolutely.
He's the Timothy Chalamet of this show. So all right.
Well, I'm going to hop behind the scenes, so please don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain.
Nice.
And wish you guys a good show. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Smoke bomb. Boom.
Showmanship.
I wish I was like D'Angelo. in the office, like, no, don't, no music. It's just gonna disrupt me. Ha, ha. Someone play Evanescence, please. Okay. All right, everyone.
Okay.
We do have a show to get to. We are gonna play our game first.
Yes.
Get the old improv bones warmed up. I don't know. Improv's already not looking good. So
Improv's the new.
The improv's new. So what we're going to do, everyone, is we are going to play Lost in Translation. Whether this is your first time playing this game with us, it is a fan favorite, and people have been begging us to play it again, which usually means I forgot to prep another game, because this is one that I do. I spend a lot of time on IMDb, and so I'm already always playing this game, but with just me.
Like hobbies or friends or something. I'm just saying. Anyway, continue.
I have my stories.
Okay.
So, how this is going to work, everyone, is I go to very popular movies that are, we'll call, universally beloved in geek culture, in movie culture. You could call them in the upper echelon of the reviews. And I find the 1-star reviews, I read them, and I see if Autumn can guess the name of the movie just by the reviews. She's going to have 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, she is going to ask for another review. We'll give you 2 rounds this time, Autumn, and you can't look at the comments for help.
Okay.
But I thought it would be fun to have our new producer play. I don't know why we asked him to go back, but I thought it would be fun to have Daniel play, really initiate him on this crazy train here. So I'm bringing you back on. I just pressed the button. Can I not? We have to be in this vertical?
Yep. Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, let me move me here.
Okay.
All right. Everyone feeling good? Okay. You have to go to the private chats.
Oh, we have to go to private chat so that we can't see the chat, the comments. Okay. And Daniel, you're
already looking bad for the technical director who's muted.
I can unmute you from here, but I don't want here. You're unmuted now. Okay.
3 years into the pandemic, and I still have not mastered the mute button. Apologies.
Okay, here we go.
All right. What is the word that I put in the private chat?
I see it.
I see it.
Yeah, just say it.
Okay.
Peanut butter.
Okay, let's see your hands. I just have played games with both of these people, just so you all know. The 2 biggest cheaters at any game are here on this show right now. It's these 2.
Okay, so we're doing this so that we can't look at the comments and see what other people's answers are, so we have to come up with our own.
Correct.
Answers. But if I think that you have the part to say it, I'm going to interrupt you and say it first.
Okay.
She's going to be interrupting you a lot.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. All right. I'm going to have 30 seconds put on for you here. I'll read you through. Some of them are relatively small, and the first 2 are going to be difficult. If you get them in the first 2, seriously, you deserve the win. All right. You ready? Here we go.
Ready.
30 seconds starting now. Acting. Extremely subpar. Terrible story. I can't believe I waited 15 years for this. A cheap piece of collective non-directional fan service. Give you one other part of it.
Directional. Okay.
Basically, a big, long, boring soap opera. I'd give it 1 star if I could. That one is notable because that was on a 2-star review. So he could have given a 1-star review.
Godfather 2?
I'm going to say Phantom Menace.
It's neither of those. It's neither of those. And no one here has guessed it just yet. Yeah, people are, I will say, I'll give you guys a hint. There is a phrase in there, in the first one, acting extremely subpar, terrible story, cheap piece of collective non-directional fan service they couldn't believe they waited 15 years for.
Collective non-directional fan service.
The 15 years is a
bit. And universally, loved. And they waited, so is it a sequel?
My brain goes to sequel.
Of sorts.
So maybe it was a book that was turned into a movie.
All right.
May.
I'm starting on 30 seconds again, and here's another part of it. And 30 seconds starts now. Unless you're a huge fan of this, unless you're a huge fan of this genre of movie or of the blank, I'd strongly recommend skipping this movie. A friend and I went to see it. It was packed. It was all sold out, and we left halfway through because we were so bored. Although the special effects were good, there really isn't any plot to speak of. For comparison, Black Panther was much better. 2, 1. Guesses?
Okay, so it's an Avengers movie. If he says he was waiting 15 years, that leads me to believe that it was 15 years after Iron Man.
I can see that.
Avengers? Like the Avengers?
Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Is that your answer?
We're guessing. Yes, they're all answers. I'm like, well, sometimes I only get one.
No, but you can't just say 1,000 things. You got to say
Sure, we
something.
can.
15 years.
Watch me.
When did the
yeah,
last
exactly.
Ghostbusters come out?
Captain.
Okay, one person got it
War?
right already in the chats.
What? Oh, what? Oh, they did. Come on, is it Avengers?
Yeah,
is it Avengers?
It is an Avengers movie.
It's MCU. Okay.
After 15 years.
I don't know what came out.
It's right there. It's right there for you. I'm so mad that neither of you got this already.
Is this Avengers Endgame? Is this
Winter Soldier?
Infinity War. Is this
Infinity
Avengers
War.
Infinity War?
Infinity War. The 15 years was the his math was wrong in that review. It wasn't 15.
Okay.
Okay.
But I was like, I couldn't fix it.
Yeah. No, that's a misdirection.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. So again, my favorite part of that was the gentleman. Again, I'm just going to assume that this was a man. Let's just call it what it was. Said I would give this movie 1 star if I could. It was a 2-star review. It's very possible. My other favorite review was this. This is my absolute favorite. This would have gotten it though. This was maybe the most disappointing movie of my life. The worst part isn't even the movie itself. It's that it killed almost every Marvel movie I used to love. I can't even go back and watch the old, good MCU. I'm swearing off Marvel, swearing off Disney, swearing off Star Wars, except for some Pixar stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to get the theater. I'm trying to get the theater I'm trying to figure out how to get the theater to not send my money to Marvel. I don't want Marvel to have my money. I don't mind supporting the local theater, but I don't want Marvel to have my money. If anyone has any tips, tricks on how to prevent Marvel from getting my money, please email me and then put his email in the review.
Wow.
Can you imagine that this is your biggest problem? This is what is consuming you, is how to solve this problem. Then old movies are ruined for you. You can't even watch them anymore. Disney's going to go out of business now that he's not going to watch their movies.
Other movies that he 1-star reviewed. Surprise, surprise here.
What?
Black Panther. Captain Marvel. Any of the new Star Wars movies.
Sure, of course.
Return of the Jedi, New Hope, and the other one is all
Empire
10 stars.
Strikes Back?
Empire Strikes Back, yeah.
The
all 10,
other one. Just the best one
those all got series. Those all got 10 out of 10s.
Okay.
The other movie that got a 10 out of 10 recently, Elemental. Big fan of Elemental.
He's an all or nothing guy.
He said some of the Pixar stuff.
Yeah,
he did say Pixar stuff. I was like, at least he's consistent.
Everyone got us straight there. That is.
Aronowitz said, he's like, did Ben Shapiro write that? No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well that
Tenchi says, if you don't want to have the studios get your money for seeing it in theaters, go see it after the 4th week if it's still there. Studios get 0% of the box office after week 4. Theater gets it all.
Hot tip.
Where were you?
Your time.
What if that review was Tenchi and he's just learned his lesson since 2018? Oh boy. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for playing.
We're half an hour into the show.
You were all very bad at this. So, all right. Well, Daniel, thank you. You've got producing to do.
Thank you all. I think it was a great game to play. We'll catch you on the back end.
Man, I wish you're right. I wish that was the most of my worries. I do like this stuff. Pay with cash, not for Marvel.
Not for Marvel. Hot tip, Dwayne.
I feel like that guy has he has Kevin Feige in his burn book. Like, this is the fuggliest slut. Do not trust.
Do not trust.
Yeah, Kevin Feige. All right, everyone.
Wow.
Well, we are going to get into our deep dive segment, which is part 2. This is societal horror through the lens of Jordan Peele. Now, it's going to look a little bit different than we did with Alfred Hitchcock. And there's one simple reason why. I mean, I had so many notes. There was like so many talking points. Is Jordan Peele's body of work just hasn't existed for nearly as long. So I think that there is, while there are definitive points about his films and what they have to say, I just think that because the catalog isn't there, it's hard to really gauge his social horror commentary, because we've only got 3 films as a director.
Although he did do Twilight Zone, the reboot of Twilight Zone, and then in 2019, 20 somewhere around there. Yeah. And I also think one of the reasons too is that when we started this little journey, this 2-part series, we were looking at how to compare and contrast Hitchcock and Peele. Without having done the work yet, I made an assumption that there were more similarities and that Hitchcock was more, commenting on society. And as we learned, he did not give 2 figs about society. He did not care what was happening in the world.
Ma'am.
Yes, he only cared about literally his own anxieties, insecurities, his own agenda, his own goals, and that was literally all he cared about. And so there was his social horror was more about his own inner workings. And if you happen to also identify with that, or could see, and I think it tapped into a lot of people's insecurities or a lot of people's things, but he certainly wasn't aiming to connect with people through that. He was very self-serving. Whereas Jordan Peele is absolutely aiming to connect and subvert and engage with people in a very specific way and make a bigger statement than just, it's not about himself, it's about these bigger statements. So I learned a lot, honestly, from doing this 2-part series.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. I think, even in the, I mean, you could have, if you would have, if we would have written a script. I think even in, the words that we were using to describe Alfred Hitchcock's body of work versus what we're going to use to describe Jordan Peele's body of work, there's really just a lot of differences really in the execution. Obviously they're both very acclaimed directors, but I think Jordan Peele's movies tend to leave you asking more questions, where I feel like Hitchcock liked the nice little bow on everything because he had that privilege of being able to put everything in a bow, where Jordan Peele lives in a society where he also he's not afforded that privilege, where everything is not as cut and dry. I mean, also, of course, the time frame is different, but that was the point of doing this.
And I do think while Hitchcock did have some like cliffhangers or ones where he left some things unanswered, it certainly wasn't to spark conversation or to have people question the world around them. Like The Birds had this ending where it ended and you don't know why that all happened. And I felt it was more to just be clever and to show how cool he is, as opposed to make you think about these bigger issues in society. He did not care. But I do think that Jordan Peele definitely had an agenda, for sure. Oh, 100% he was.
Yes.
Yes.
When me and Autumn were discussing this, I was like, oh yeah, I have to like reframe this outline so that we're not just talking shit about Alfred Hitchcock the entire
There's
time.
a lot.
Because there's a lot.
Discuss.
I mean, granted, we've had decades to break down his life, but he's also done some bad stuff. But whatevs. Anyways, so what we're going to be doing is looking at social horror and how Jordan Peele purveys that through the lens of 3 films: Get Out from 2017, Us from 2019, and Nope from 2022. These are 3 films that each one of these films has in one way or another been nominated around award season. Of course, Get Out being the predominant film. Did you see like the budget for Get Out and like what it made? So the reason that like I think this movie was so talked about, obviously, aside from the incredible undercurrent of everything that it was that he made this movie for $5 million.
That's crazy.
$5 million. Most of it went to the actors.
I was going to say there was great talent.
Essentially 2 locations.
Yeah,
that was it. They used Daniel Kaluuya's actual flat, his apartment. For those who don't know, we call them flats in Texas, and they so it was a movie for $5 million, and it made over $280 million. So it was like he had this like lightning in a bottle that I think what. Did you say a lot of mozzarella?
I sure did.
I haven't talked to you in a long time, and I'm starting to understand why.
I remember why now.
Autumn, this is serious. We're talking horror movies, please. Steve beat me to my own joke. I was gonna say flats and drums. That's damn it, Steve. I love you. Of course, we'll start our journey here with Get Out being this predominant film where, thank you so much. Look at our producer doing work. Thank you, Daniel. So again, as the description as read, if you guys haven't seen this, first of all, if you're going to watch any of his movies, I think this is the one to watch. But the synopsis, as on IMDb, is a young African-American man visits his white girlfriend's parents for the weekend, where his simmering uneasiness about their reception of him eventually reaches a boiling point. And that is putting it lightly. So one of the things that we want to talk about with each of these movies, we'll give all of you the time to comment as well. Daniel, feel free to comment in the private chat or pop on if you'd like to as well. But most of what me and Adam will be talking about is, as we did with Alfred Hitchcock, really using 3 words to, narrow down. Obviously, it's not a definitive list of 3 words, but we could sit here and talk about Jordan Peele forever. But 3 words that we really wanted to use to talk about Jordan Peele and his body of work. And it's really awareness, duality, and subversiveness, or being subversive. Now, those 3 words I feel are very, me and Autumn feel are very key and crucial into Jordan's work. So, Autumn, let's get you started, because Autumn, this is also really fun because Autumn does not like horror at all. So
I'm going to.
How did you feel going into this? Going into it, I mean, I think you'd seen it before, right?
Yes, I had seen it before. And I remember when it first came out, I was really intrigued by it, and I watched it, and I remember being completely stunned by this film and having to wait about 2 days to process it and then go back and watch it again. And then a week later, I watched it again. Like, it just grabbed hold of me, and I just thought it was fascinating. And the more I kind of was reading into it, looking into it, I remember it being that one of the things that, aside from so many other layers of what this film brings to the table, what I loved about it was we call it social horror. There's also a term societal thriller, society thriller. Those are all terms for it, where society or crowds of people are the villain. So like Rosemary's Baby and Stepford Wives and The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist, where you have a crowd of people who are the villain. And that's what makes it so scary, because they have all assimilated and you are not. And that is what makes it terrifying, because they're all so wrong and so scary. And yet, because they all agree with each other, there's no help to be found. There's no one to help you, because everyone there is assimilated with this point of view of destroying you or making you assimilate with them or whatever it is. So that, to me, along with everything else, was what was so fascinating to me. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen Rosemary's Baby or Stepford Wives, both some older films, but this was something that he tapped into for this. And looking more into it, I found like he was huge fans of those films and of that genre of crowds of people as the villain. And so I thought he, on top of everything else that he wove into this movie so perfectly and so delicately, he also did that, and it was just amazing. So I'm a huge fan of this film. It makes me so uncomfortable the entire time. I'm so scared and on edge, even when it's just pleasant conversations. I remember one of the moments that scared me the most is not scary at all, but it's he and his girlfriend are walking through the living room, and it's a little party happening, and they're chit-chatting, and she takes him upstairs, and they're all chit-chatting and having conversations with each other. And the second he has disappeared up the stairs, they all stop.
Silence.
silence. They look at him. And I remember
Yeah.
there's nothing scary about that description, but it was terrifying and so uncomfortable. And man, it takes a delicate touch to make people scared from that scenario. Like, it was really well done.
Yeah, that, I mean, that was very well said. And I think it's a movie that has been talked about, discussed, dissected by so many people.
Gosh.
So, I mean, there are, Jordan Peele has gone on and talked about so many of the, there are so many Easter eggs and hidden meanings and metaphors and everything he's done. That moment specifically was one that is like, you have to put yourself in the position of where this movie's coming from. And I think before that, I want to like bring up Steve Narr's comment who says, I'm not a horror fan either. I don't know if that colored my opinion of Get Out, but it left me feeling, I should revisit it. Us was much more disturbing. So I think that's interesting. I also have comments on that as well. But Jordan Peele is like, he's gone out and said, he's like, it happens to have horror tendencies, but it is not necessarily a horror movie per se. So like, if you're going in looking to be scared, that's not what you're going to find there.
No.
But it is a movie that it serves an underserved audience, and there are so many hidden meanings and everything. Like even in that moment you're saying, Autumn, where Daniel Kaluuya is going up the stairs and then they're chatting and then it's silence. It's like meant to represent the idea that like if you're the only person of color at this party, as soon as you're gone, the conversation stops because it's no longer about they're just talking about you, and it's
well, it takes microaggressions to a whole new level. Like it's a character of the film. It's how much it's used. It's amazing. It's interesting, Steve, because I'm not a fan either. But it's interesting because I had the exact opposite reaction, Steve. I hate horror films, but I was drawn into this from the second I saw the first second of the trailer. I was drawn in. I see very few horror or scary films, but they always have to have something of significance. Like I loved Sixth Sense, and that's scary. I wouldn't call it horror, but it's definitely a scary film. But I think this, to me, it had something to say. So it's interesting that we walked away with such different points of view, me and Steve.
Yeah. And this is a movie that at this point I have seen multiple times. I've probably seen upwards like 9 or 10 times. So like I love this movie. It's up there with like Endgame for me, where like I remember where I was when I watched it. Like it was that important because again, while Jordan Peele gave this as I do with all of these shows, I watch like hours and hours of him doing interviews and people dissecting it. But one of the most fascinating things that I watched is Jordan Peele 5 years after he's promoting Nope, but he goes into this UCLA like writing class, and he just like drops in and he's talking with them about how this movie is like so representative of him. And one of the ways that me and Autumn for all of you wanted to talk about this was like, I think in order to understand like how Jordan Peele is like subversive, or how he is just meeting so many of the other criteria of being like aware, or he has this duality, is understanding like him as a person. Like he is married to a white woman. He came from a single mother. He was, lucky enough.
Himself.
He's experienced it. All these microaggressions, like, I know Tiger, right?
That one. Oh my gosh.
It's just stuff like that. Like it's so brilliant that for some people it's like, what a weird throwaway line. But then for so many people, they're like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, just seeing people, and like, again, just seeing so many different people in other, I mean, I used to work in an area that was predominantly white, and you just have people saying like, like Floyd Mayweather, he's a pretty good boxer. And you're like, yeah, he's like a champion. You're like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's good though. You're like, yeah, I know. And like, it's that weird microaggression where they're not saying anything bad, but it's like a blink and you miss it type of thing. And Jordan Peele put that on blast.
Yeah.
And I think
he made it a character of the film. It was the dynamic of the film wrapped around that, and then took it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was just a movie that was so resonant to so many people, and Jordan Peele made this movie for the Black community and the Black experience. And we'll see with his body of work, he changes. Where this movie was specifically addressing the real villain of being, of race and privilege, where his other movies don't really deal with that. It's not that it's not present,
right?
But it's not really important. And
and that's what I like, is that he's exploring. All of his films don't have to be addressing this. It's definitely going to be tied in, but he doesn't. That's not. It's not. He hasn't painted himself as a one horse pony. If this is all he's going to do, he's done. He takes that same subversiveness and that same duality and applies it to so many different topics and themes and cultural issues. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally understand. And again, if you're out there, let us know, like, which while we were doing this, I'm trying to think of like which of these like words sort of resonates the most with Get Out, between awareness, duality, and subversiveness. And I think it's for me, I think the word that best represents Get Out is awareness. Is like Jordan Peele is so aptly aware of everyone, and also mentioning like I'm not, he's like, I'm not demonizing white people. He's like, if you feel like you're on your heels, he's like, take a hard look at like why that is. And that's why he was making this movie, and he was allowed to make this movie for $5 million because they're like, yeah, it's $5 million and he's going to ask some questions. He had no idea it would blow up to be exactly what it was. But I'm curious out there if before we move on to Us, which I'm very excited to talk about. I think I had the most stark contrast with that film of what everyone else here thought of Get Out. Let's see. Alex said, I've been on another very, very often. I've been in other very, very often with members of my ex's family. So many Jewish related stories, and like, oh, I learned this Yiddish word, and talking about Israel with me. So fun.
Okay.
Yeah, like like you just learn. I mean, and I think when going through this, Autumn can attest to this. I used to date. I dated a white woman, and you would like go in and like, do you like? It's just like dumb. Like, I don't watch boxing, but they'd be like De La Hoya, like like he's good. Like, he's a good one. He's a good one. That's what it was. Like, he's a good one.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's stuff like that where it's like at no point was it ever like as it's portrayed in the very beginnings of the film. I'm not talking about the entirety of Get Out, but they seem to be nice and welcoming and it's like a very liberal version of acceptance.
Well, I thought it was interesting when I was watching some commentary about the choice of casting, what's his name, Bradley. He was from West Wing, and he was the dad.
Oh yeah.
Saying like that was brilliant casting him because he was known as like this liberal champion, and it was all about the problematic white liberal who like is so self-congratulatory about how advanced they are, but just swimming with microaggressions in their self-congratulatory presence of how they ended racism forever.
We did it. Yeah. Yeah, and Desmond has a good point of saying, I found that all of Peele's films are meant to elicit dread, and those films are often more effective for us, the audience, based on how clearly we can envision the approaching doom at the end. And I do agree. And it's funny, after I watched this film again, I thought about how, and I do truly believe this, mark my words, today, whatever day it is at whatever time, but like, not in the level of filmmaking, but as a conversation starter, I think Barbie will do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Because it asks, again, we could literally just talk about Barbie for hours because we both really liked it, but it's the same thing where this one category of people felt very attacked. And they're like, well, you're kind of missing the point. Like, watch it again, and you'll understand it's not really about this one thing. It's about this other thing. And then once you've gotten to that other thing, you're like, just keep going. You're like down the rabbit hole.
There's more for you. There's more there. Yeah.
And so Get Out did a very similar thing where like, I don't know how many of you remember, but like how many people hated that movie because of like they're saying of like what it did. And even people in the Black community, Jordan Peele was mentioning how he's like, I mean, the end of the film has a Black man killing a white family, and he's like, I didn't want it to come off as like we were demonizing the Black community. He's like, so it had to be over the top. Like there had to be this body snatcher subplot. Like not really the point, like at all. And it was just like, you know, it was incredible. And I think, again, fast forward, while not comparing the tones of the films or anything, but the conversations that like Get Out was having at that time, if you don't remember them, just think of Barbie. It was doing the same thing where you're just like, but they're not saying that. They're saying this.
It's opening up conversations and further exploration. And again, the subversiveness there. I think Barbie's subversiveness is much more obvious because it started as one thing and very clearly made a big left turn and showed you we're going to do something different now. So it was very obvious and clear, but still so many layers of things to unwrap there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so Get Out really kicks open the door for everyone to Jordan Peele as like a serious force in directing. Of course, we all know him from Key and Peele, which we'll talk about in a bit, you know, on our Explorathon. But it really kind of kicks open the door for that. I think in between that, Monkey Paw Productions gets started in about 2018. It's founded in 2012, but I mean, it really gets going in 2018. They start working on things like The Black Klansman, Lovecraft Country, Candyman, which are just, you know, are films in this genre that are led by you know, by members of the Black community, in the Black artistic community. So then we get to 2019, and we are at a film that stars Lupita Nyong'o. It stars Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker, and all sorts of other actors. And it's called Us. Thank you so much. Horrifying movie. I watched it again. I know, Autumn, you want to just come clean to everyone now?
Because I tried so hard. I could not watch it. I psyched myself up like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. I watched Nope, I watched Get Out, I watched everything else that could possibly be related. I watched some of his Twilight Zone, and I said, okay, I'm gonna watch Us. And I said, okay, maybe I'll start with watching the trailer. Could not get through the trailer. I said, okay, maybe I'll watch some of like Screen Rant or Mojo or whatever. I'll watch someone break it down and talk about it. I could not do that either. I can't do it. You guys, I was too scared. I couldn't do it. Here's the thing. One of the reasons why I hate horror movies so much is because I have a thing about stabbing. I can't stand stabbing.
There's some stabbing in this.
Yeah, there's like scissors right there in the trailer. I'm like, oh no, I can't do it. It's one of the reasons why I couldn't watch Walking Dead for the first few years and after it came out, because it was just like hack and slash everywhere. And then I finally got over it and watched it.
Do you just skip the reveal in like, is it cake? When they're just like,
I'm okay
and
with
they're just like
objects being cut open, but I hate people being stabbed. It creeps me out and I can't deal with it. So I didn't watch it. So I'm taking the back seat. You guys get to talk all about Us. Just don't talk about stabbing or scissors or anything like that. Thanks. Okay, go ahead. Bye.
So, Us is a film, again, in 2019. The synopsis is: a family's serene beach vacation turns to chaos when their doppelgangers appear and begin to terrorize them. Now, this is a film that I think of all of them that I hadn't seen. So I'd seen Nope. I've probably seen Nope like 4 times. I've probably seen Get Out like 5 or 6 times, maybe more. I'd only seen Us once in theaters. And I think after doing the research for doing this episode, listening to Jordan Peele talk about it, Autumn, I think I understood why. And it's because it was kind of like what you were talking about, where Get Out was a movie for all intents and purposes, as Jordan Peele framed it. It is a movie for the Black community, made by a Black director, tackling social and racial issues. And it's very, while it is complicated, it is, for lack of a better word, more clear cut. But this film, there happens to be Black actors. It happens to be directed by a Black director, but it is this sort of, this horror story that he is telling. I mean, but it is just a film that I had found to be not as like not as complete as Get Out. I think the first time I watched it, I was like, I found it to be good. I found the horror in and of itself to be really, really good. But then when I went back and I watched it through like the lens of like awareness, subversiveness, and like what is Jordan Peele trying to say through these characters, I was like, got it. This movie, very obviously, the big one is duality, right? It is literally about doppelgangers. They call themselves tethers. So so Lupita Nyong'o is the main character, and we've got Winston Duke. Thank you so much. She's incredible in that. And I like the quick flashes. It's like, I wish we had like horror music under all of these quick pictures. Like, bring up that little chihuahua again. So Lupita Nyong'o is, and all of the actors are doing double work, essentially, mostly, but especially Lupita Nyong'o in this, because she is playing two characters that are different in delivery, but not different in necessarily their sort of endpoint in this film. I don't know if everyone's watched this yet. So I don't know how much can I spoil here, Autumn?
I mean, I feel like we did say what we were going to talk about, so you can spoil it.
Yeah, 2019, right? Yeah. Okay, so in the beginning of the film,
so go ahead. Just don't talk about stabbing, and we're fine.
In the beginning of the film, you see Lupita Nyong'o as a young girl. She goes into this fun house. She meets her tether. Tether chokes her, and then it cuts and goes forward. You eventually learn that at that point, when she was younger, the tether, they switched. So the tether that was underground the whole time has been living for 20 plus years as an adult. And that's why throughout the film, we see Lupita Nyong'o with weird verbal habits, weird mannerisms, and the way she like talks and moves. It is because she actually is a tether and belongs underground. It's where she had sort of come from, and they had switched. So that's really the writ large, umbrella of like the horror concept of it. But once you start getting into it, of course, you can start seeing, like I think F. Wellington says, fun fact, US is also an abbreviation for, US. And it is. So like this movie is a movie for, in Jordan Peele's words, everyone. It is not, in Get Out, he made that movie, again, for a very specific demographic, where in this film, he had said that he wanted to make a movie for everyone. We see Elizabeth Moss's character, and they are, on a different side of the country, and they also have tethers. So it's like, it is a countrywide phenomenon, if you will.
Okay.
And so essentially, I think in this film, when you look at like, duality, subversiveness, duality obviously being the big one because that's like right on the nose there. But it's representative of who he is. Like he always feels like these two people. He was this, he comes from a white mother and a black father. So he's always felt like right in between the two communities. He comes from a comedy background, and now he's a horror director, and he's right in between both of those communities. And I think this is his most honest film of them. I felt like it's the first time where he had all that acclaim, all that praise for Get Out. And this was his time in this, with this film to really show people like, I'm like a legitimate director. I'm not a legitimate black director. And I think with this movie, he really wanted to like squash the racial sort of issue of it, because it doesn't really come up in the film. And again, if I'm wrong here, you guys can feel free to correct me, but it's not really relevant. It doesn't ever come up. They happen to be in, the family happens to be black. And so it's just a really, really interesting film. And I think with all of these, like, it's just also super smart. I wrote like a bunch of other notes as well, like when I was watching this. And like my opinion is like,
since I haven't seen it and I never ever will for any reason.
Oh, okay.
Does that mean, because now does it bring up concepts of identity too? Because then if the tether isn't her, if the tether has been living this life and got married and had children, does she, who's been in wherever place that she switched, does she know these people? Her children and husband?
She was switched.
Does she know her?
So she was switched as a kid.
As a kid, right? So her tether met this man and married him and had children, not her.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Does she
But
even know who they
she was
are?
out. I mean, wait, which version?
The original child who was switched with the tether. The tether has
I
lived
see.
a life. The tether has lived a
Mhm.
life, has met a man, got married, had children, and now I'm assuming the actual her is fighting for the place in the world.
Right. Yeah.
So the actual her who's fighting for a place in the world, does that actual her know this man and these children at all?
No. So not in the way that they are above. Again, there's below and then there's the above.
Oh,
Which
right,
again,
right.
when you're looking at the movie, U.S. There's the upper
Right,
echelon, lower echelon, so it's all a big commentary on that as
right.
well. They have so it is a mirror image. It is a mirrored world. So what is essentially most likely happening above is also happening below, and it was just so. The reason it was so well done is because essentially it's like the upside down in a way
Yeah,
where the things that are happening above, you believe it this way, you get an A on a test. In
Below.
the tether, they get an F.
Right.
So they are essentially meant to take this abuse so that they can stay above.
Oh, okay.
So there's another instance with one of the characters. He's the young boy's name is Jason. He's the son, so he has a tether, right? Down below, and he wears this mask because Jason, the above Jason, has this almost like Chewbacca looking mask that he wears, but it's like a not
Okay.
licensed Chewbacca mask. So the tether wears this full on almost like a gas mask type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very similar. And then when he takes his mask off, there you see that he's scarred and he's like all burnt. And it's because, Jason there likes to play with magic and he plays with fire. So the implication is that all the times that he's succeeded, it didn't work out for the tether.
Yeah.
The tether took the abuse.
Okay.
It was a Wolfman. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it was the Wolfman mask.
Okay.
So it's just a film that is really, really.
It's really upsetting.
Again, it's incredibly subversive for a lot of reasons. The duality is one that is the most obvious, but subversive in the fact that it's it really subverts your expectations of, I think, Jordan Peele and what he was doing with this and what everyone was oh, what's his next movie on race going to be about? And then he comes out with Us, and it's a straight up horror movie that's not about race. It's about everyone and how we are all struggling in tethers so that people above can live these lives, and we're all working these 9 to 5 so people above can live their lives. We are the tethered, and it asks questions of who am I rooting for? Which version of Lupita Nyong'o's character should I root for? And sort of again getting into with North by Northwest, North by Northwest, where it's had a very clear and concise ending because that's how Hitchcock viewed his life. It was clear and concise, and it was on to the next, and he could just go and do his next thing. Where again, Jordan Peele doesn't have that luxury, where he's asking this question who's the bad guy? Are the people who found themselves above, maybe through hard work, maybe through nepotism, looking at Daniel, are they, are they villains for being up there? And people who want to be up there, who aren't there or don't have the means to be there, are they villains? Yeah. So you can't answer that question on a show. You can't answer that question in a 4-hour podcast.
It reminds me of, I was listening to an audiobook from the creator of A Good Place, and he was talking about Michael Schur. He wrote a book called How to Be Perfect, and he was exploring moral philosophy and what he learned when he was researching The Good Place. He became fascinated with moral philosophy, and then he went on this journey of learning about it, and that's what The Good Place is about, is learning moral philosophy. And one of the reasons why everyone hates moral philosophy professors or moral philosophers is that there's this concept that it's just a thought experiment, if you could have prosperity and world peace and everyone is flourishing and there's no disease, and the cost of it is one human life, one child who gets tortured in eternity in order for this to happen, is that okay for millions of people to live a healthy, prosperous life. Is that okay? And if you decide yes,
Mm.
it is okay, what about 2 people? What about 100? What about a
Right.
million? And when is that line okay? Like, when does it make it okay? Is just one okay? And like, this is what it reminds me of. It's like there's a price to pay, and are we okay with it? And does it make it better or worse if everyone has to agree? If everyone who is, as you say, above
Mm.
is aware that there's a below, is aware that someone's suffering, so that we all can, and there's a greater good
That's
concept.
interesting.
And so this to me ties into that thought experiment in philosophy. It's interesting. Okay. I mean, it's not really a right answer. It's just an interesting thought.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
And that is the point of Jordan Peele's films, I feel, is
Yeah.
like, it's not meant to answer any questions. It's meant to show you that these questions exist, even if you've never had to even think about asking them before, like with Get Out.
Right.
You know,
Right.
why you never had to think about these with Us. It does it as well. It did it on a more commercial level and in
Yeah.
a bigger horror level. And then when we get to Nope, it asks
Yeah.
a totally set of different questions
Right.
about things that Jordan Peele feels about
Yeah.
himself. But before we
And
move
someone
on to,
I was going to say that those who are privileged doesn't necessarily make them villains. If they're born into privilege, does that make them a villain? It depends on what they do with it. But yeah, I mean, in this case, whoever is above was just born that way. Does that make, like you're saying, does that make them the villain? Does that make them the good guy? Does that make those who are not born into privilege? There's no good or bad necessarily.
Mhm.
It's just is.
And-
But there's definitely some benefiting off the backs of the other.
right, exactly. And Desmond says, I think one reason why the ending of Us is ambiguous is because the film suggests that both the families, the lowers and the uppers, are both trapped by the social system. So what would winning look like?
Right.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it, is that there is no winning really.
Yeah.
It's in these films, it's just this sort of like, it's this open-ended question that you leave with. And I think, again, getting back to Jordan Peele's relationship with this film, one of the things that I found to be interesting was just his commentary on this, where he's these two people where, like, I mean, anyone, I think like Halle Berry's mentioned it before, who has come from mixed race parents. She's mentioned, like, you're not black enough, you're not white enough, you're always in the middle. Jordan Peele feels very similar. I know maybe like Daniel can attest to it. We're Mexican. We don't really speak very good Spanish, and we didn't grow up with traditional Mexican ideals, like of doing things by that way. And you're not Mexican enough, but you're not American enough, and so it's like you sort of conform to these ideas. So I think that's why, like, Us was a film that when I like revisited as an adult and I've like lived so much more life, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I understand what he's getting at, and why Adelaide in the film, Lupita Nyong'o's character, she's like horrified to go back to this beach, right, where she grew up and where she switched. Now, on the surface level, you're looking at it as she's afraid to do this because she's like, I don't want to switch back. I don't want to go underneath. But if you like look at it as to why, it's like, Jordan Peele saying, it's like going back to his neighborhood where these people all used to know him as Jordy or Jay, or these, before he was Jordan Peele, and he's afraid that people are going to recognize him and not respect him, but he also wants to be accepted by them because he's like, I'm still this guy from your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so it's this really fun conversation that you can just have with anything along those lines.
Yeah.
And so like Us, again, I think I'd mentioned in a post in our group, Fandom Socialites, if you haven't joined, please join, where I felt very differently about this film after watching it again.
Yeah.
Boom. Thank you, producer Daniel. Where, I just felt very different. Autumn, I think you should watch. What does everyone think? Do you think, like,
can someone make me a special cut like the Snyder cut, except we're taking out everything that has to do with stabbing, and you just like put a word on the screen that says so and so stabbed so and so. Someone gets their knife, their throat slit. That's fine. Then I'll watch it.
Tenchi says The Trap of First-Gen American Born from Immigrants. Yep. Exactly.
The concept sounds really fascinating, and I really maybe I will try to get through it, but It did make me want to. Thank you, Alex. Alex says, "Don't watch it. She won't be okay." That is true. Thank you, Alex.
She's fine. She's fine. But I think before we get into Nope, I did want to ask, like I kind of wanted to ask an open-ended question to everyone is like in films in general, and Autumn, I'm curious as to like what your position is on this as well. Like I think I know your answer because I've known you for decades, but how often, like what percentile do you prefer films like Get Out and Nope versus Fast and the Furious? Because I think that plays a big part into Jordan Peele's films where like every one of his movies makes you think and makes you feel whether you like it or not. And then when you watch something stupid like Fast and the Furious, sorry, that was a capital S stupid. If you like those movies, I'm sorry. I went through them all and I'm just like, boy. Is films like that, right? That are like meant to help you escape and enjoy and jump into this world. So like where do you fall into that? Like how often do you want the Fast and the Furious versus the Get Outs?
Very different compared to different phases of my life. As somebody who, whenever my life is more stressful, and as single mom, raising 4 kids on the spectrum, going to school, going through my career, there have definitely been years where maybe it would be 95% escapism, mostly Twilight films, and then the other 5% would be really great movies that make me think, because I do love these kind of films. I love these kind of films, but I have to be in the mental space where I'm able to take on more, because it does occupy space. It occupies some of your energy. And you have to have that to give. And so there's times when I would say, I'm 60-40 in favor of films that are interesting and unique and make me think and require something of me. And other times where it's like an 80-20 split, the other way around. So I have a healthy dose of both, and it ebbs and flows over the years. So I think they're both extremely important and have a healthy spot in my lineup of films for sure. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I've gotten worse. I think I've gotten so much more pretentious as I've gotten older. Such a douche.
Now doing this, we're exposing ourselves to so many more things.
I just think, again, we've said this 1,000 times, but me and Autumn, just individually, aside from the show, have just insane schedules. So I just view it as like I have a very finite amount of time. Like, what can I watch that will? This is gonna sound so pretentious. What can I watch that will make me a different person tomorrow? Like, will I have been a different person for watching Elemental? Probably not. But like after watching Banshees of Inisherin, I'm like, oh, I felt completely different, because then I went and I researched, the Irish Civil War and just things like along those lines. But then every once in a while, I'm just like, I really want to watch The Office again, or I really want to watch I do need to escape, or I want I've been meaning. I'm gonna just leave it here. I'm just gonna leave it on the table. We don't need to say anything about it. But I've been wanting to watch Sound of Freedom, right? That film, just to see. I want to just watch it. But I was like, I just don't want to go through that right now. So I watched Haunted Mansion, and I'm like, great time. So much fun. It was like some of my favorite actors. And then Steve said,
my brother's happy as long as there's explosions. I need to know why there are explosions. I love that.
That's a great reason.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that. I view things, because Autumn knows, and people maybe who follow us know, like I review movies on my own. And when I look at movies, like it's the reason why I don't like to give number reviews, or I don't say like this is an 8.5 out of 10 or an A-, because like what I think is an A-, like could be you're like C-. You could just hate it, right? Like it could just be terrible. So like I usually break it up, into like, is it easy to watch? What are people talking about? And then lately, I've been breaking it up by like, would my dad like this movie? Like my dad likes like John Wick, The Equalizer, Fast and the Furious. And I'm like, would my dad like this movie? Probably not. Or he probably would. And so I also take that view when like watching like the Get Out and Us, and especially our third film, Nope, and that like, sometimes
you're so far behind schedule.
I know.
And what time it is? We haven't even started talking about it.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about Nope.
Oh,
so
man,
great.
I love this.
I loved it. I
More
haven't.
about it.
I only watched it for the first time because of this assignment, because of this
Really?
topic. Yeah, I always wanted to watch it. I just never. There's so many things I want to watch, and I just haven't watched.
Okay. What did you think of it as, just like not even considering it from the perspective of the show, just as like a viewing experience?
I really, really was sucked into it, and the fact that it 100% was.
Is that a pun?
Yes, sucked into it. 100% he sucks you in. And I say that understanding the concept of the film, that is also how you experience this, and that he immediately creates a spectacle. He knew he had to create a spectacle. Like, he, as the filmmaker, did what he is having his characters do. Junipers, whatever it's called, Jupiter's
Claim?
something. Yeah. So like, he himself is creating a spectacle. He's doing all the marketing is about aliens. It's going to be about aliens. And so, like, he never says that it is, but he leads you to believe that's what it is, creates this big spectacle so you'll want to watch it, and then just rips you to shreds. And man, all the stuff with the monkey and the flashbacks to the show and all this stuff, I'm like, what is this? And then Antler, what's his name? The filmmaker, the cinematographer that they bring in, and you catch the impossible shot, and the kid from the Geek Squad or whatever it is, like a Fries, like
Angel.
It was so rich, and there was so much to it, and the ending leaves a little bit of a mystery. I think, like, it looks like spoilers. It looks like her brother survived, but he's also on Ghost, the horse, and we've also established that he saw his father as a ghost. So he may not have actually survived. He's standing under the sign that says "Out Yonder." Like, she may just be seeing him be proud of her from out yonder, and like, it's just so much to it. I want to watch it again and again, and there's so much to go back and understand and enjoy, and like, man, it was great. But I loved that was the title of the film, and I loved every time he said it. It was just, I mean,
I know, it's chef's kiss.
Yeah, 100%.
So Nope, coming out in 2022. The synopsis for it is: the residents of a lonely gulch inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. And that is, like, putting it lightly. But I think that's a really good description of it, because all right.
Keep going.
So, again, in this film, we get what I think is in my favorite actor in anything Peele does, is we get Daniel Kaluuya back as O.J. Howard. We get Keke Palmer in this. We get Stephen Yeun. Oh, thank you. And then, of course, we get I always forget his name, Brandon Pereira as Angel Torres. So, this film, again, on the surface, if you've seen any sort of breakdowns of this, it's about spectacle, our fascination by spectacle, of attention, what we're willing to do for it, how we want to monetize it. But, within looking at through like social horror, I'm curious as to, like, when you put your Fandom social fedora on and you were watching this, how did you relate it to social horror? Like, where does society play into this film for you?
Well, their hunger for that spectacle, to see the spectacle taking precedence over safety, taking precedence over caring and empathy about, like, they were there to watch. He was gonna sacrifice that horse and it was implied that he'd done it many times, and that he's fine with this. Everyone who works there is fine with this. The people that are showing up there that have watched it, the people that watched it before, were fine with it. And that makes them, that everyone involved with it, that is some of the social thriller, some of the social horror, was like, they're all fine with this because they get to see the big spectacle. And that lack of respect for that beast, the lack of respect for the wild, lack of respect for, this beast, which is what, ultimately causes the downfall, again, in the flashbacks as well. But like, that to me was the horror, was not that someone discovered that this existed and is immediately alerting and trying to make people as safe as possible, and how, like, the way that the main character is trying to, like, understand it and teach others so that they can be safe. She wants the Oprah moment. He wants the educational moment of teaching people how to survive this. And that to me, the horror was that he was outnumbered. No one else cared about that. No one else was interested in how to teach people to survive. and to show respect, to survive, they were more concerned with how to monetize the spectacle. And that, to me, that was the social horror.
Yeah, and a lot of it is about how far we're willing to go, who we're willing to put in danger, like you had mentioned. And then when you sort of like break it down in a little bit further, you just get this feeling of that like trauma bonding almost with this moment. And a big scene of that is when they're like sitting down, right? They're having fish sandwiches at what looks like like a Burger King type place.
Yeah.
And they're talking like that. It had just happened. It had just chased them. All the blood has just come down from the, rain blood, and really missed moment there, not play Slayer, just saying. But they're sitting there and they're like, they don't want to talk about it.
Because of the
Like,
song?
they don't. Because of Slayer?
Yeah. Lives and people. Sorry, I'm jumping in with Alex. Treating everything and everyone as property for entertainment, like social media. Go ahead.
Yep. You just moved right along, didn't you? Just
I sure did.
Galloped like the ghost horse right into a new. It's fine. Yeah, and it was that moment specifically really resonated with me. Is like I think that was happening. That came out not before, obviously, but all this stuff was happening with the war in Ukraine, right? And like we were seeing firsthand how horrible things were over there, and yet Autumn, I mean, me and you can attest to it. We were writing scripts, talking about stuff, and like we just were able to compartmentalize these horrible things happening for our sake. And I think that's what he's very lightly commenting on in that film. With that moment, it's like this crazy thing just happened. I think Keke Palmer even tells him like, we don't want to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that. Yeah, and it was just a moment that was so resonant, because I think we've all experienced that in one way or another. Let's see, what did Tenchi say?
It's rather like an allegory to TikTok challenges. Let's see how viral we can make this stupidly dangerous advocate for our own amusement in the cloud. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when going back to like our phrases, right, of duality, subversiveness, and as well as awareness, I think this is the film where I feel like Jordan Peele nailed all three. I think it's the only one that he's nailed all three. He has an awareness of the system that he's in. He's in the Hollywood machine. Jordan Peele is both. He is both the horse and he is the
writer,
the UFO.
Oh yeah.
He is both those things. He is both Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya, and as well as Stephen Yeun's character, where he is like essentially looking at himself and monetizing the idea of with like, you can look at it as like Get Out. He's like monetizing on Black trauma, right? And he's aware of that as well. He's aware of all of these these moments, and he puts these incredible shots in. He's got like Hoyte van Hoyten, who is the cinematographer who does like, for everyone, he does all of like Christopher Nolan's movies. So like he wanted to make it big and beautiful to sort of give you that like feeling of like, oh, it's like unattainable. It's
right.
We're and again with the subversiveness, it's like it's like an alien film, but it's not like also what you thought the alien was going to be. It's not Independence Day.
It's almost more like a kaiju or like a cryptid. You know what I mean?
It's a creature. We don't even know if it comes from space. It's never even mentioned. It could come from the ocean. It could come from a mountain.
Right.
And it's there's a really interesting moment in that where there's like that TMZ person that comes in. They've got like the chrome hat, right?
Yeah.
And that was that I'm curious to see what everyone else thought of that, and especially you, Autumn, because that was the one where I was like, I was a little confused on like what he was trying to say there in that, other than it's a commentary on like journalism, of course, as well, and how far they are willing to go, which I felt like he was
Yeah.
already kind of stating. So it's more of like a hat on a hat for me. But I'm curious what everyone else thought about like that one. But that's the only thing that never really stuck with me.
I don't know if I just didn't get it, but to me it felt like a way to deliver a motorcycle to her. I mean, like she's gonna need some transportation, so someone's gonna have to bring something to her. So I know, how about some paparazzi guy? I don't know. I mean, there may be way more to it that I'm just not getting, but I think
and
surface,
you know,
like,
there's this
the
relentlessness, right, that comes to it, and I think, you know, with it eventually being killed by the what do they call it? Jean Jacket, I think. They call the entity Jean Jacket. It's like this this person is relentless, but it's still not bigger than Hollywood, because like he has gone on record and said that Jean Jacket, the alien, whatever you want to call it, is Hollywood. It's a physical manifestation of Hollywood, and that like none of that is bigger than any of that. And then they, you know, again, spoilers, blow it up. You know, they get rid of it, which is like, I think maybe because again, he puts himself in the position of his characters of like what he's like manifesting that, like he's trying to do that, but he kind of did that with Get Out, right? Like, you know, with Get Out, he kind of blew up Hollywood a little bit and changed some direction. So it was a
fulfillment there too. Like, this exists, and what if we could just blow it all up?
Yeah, exactly. And so let's go here and see what everyone is saying.
I like this one. Tenchi says relentless journalism. Go ahead.
Sure. Relentless tabloid journalism that is also part of the overall entertainment machine, because it is also owned by the same companies that run the entertainment industry. It's like you know, we're not taking on Big Pharma in this episode when they're like, this crazy thing, you know, they create this thing and then they create the medicine to fix the thing that they create. Right? Same thing.
Right.
And you know, it's just a really, again, biting film. Another film that I think people, you know, while there is conversations of race in there, it's more Jordan Peele just saying like, I got this massive budget and I'm going to tell this original story with this massive budget, because that came out in like 2022 when we were still sort of in the fervor of like big IP, you know, Star Wars, and maybe not. I don't think there were any Star Wars films in 2022, but you know, Marvel and everything, and then he did something completely original.
It's interesting too, not to do with the theme, but like when it was filmed, we were probably still dealing with some pandemic stuff. So filming way out in Agua Dulce, which is in my neck of the woods, and mostly outdoors, really allowed them some freedom. A lot of people were, you know, I mean, it was a relatively safe movie to film. There wasn't a lot of stuff happening inside. It was mostly, and even like the flashbacks where it was mostly single people on the screen at the same time. So like, he found a clever way to work in some safety. That was interesting.
And I think there are films that you can watch that have very obvious undertones. You're like, oh yeah, that was filmed during the pandemic. And this wasn't one of them. Like you can't tell. But
all right, we need to push forward because we're an hour and 20 minutes in. We need to
hour and 23 minutes in. So that is part 2 of Social Horror with Jordan, wrapping up there with Jordan Peele. You know, and again, taking a look at both Jordan Peele and Alfred Hitchcock, you know, both just looking at their body of work, both incredible directors. Obviously, Jordan Peele is at the very beginning of his career, so it's really exciting to see what he's doing next. But you know, both with very, very interesting commentary on where they were at the time and what they had to say and how they portrayed what they had to say with this art that they put out there. So thank you everyone for joining us on that. Again, we're not done. That was fun. That was, I think, the most research that we've done for this show. I mean, we're only 5 episodes in, but that we've done so far. More for Hitchcock, but because I was more familiar with Peele, but
I think we got a fun one for the next episode. Our next episode's a fun shift. Get a fun shift in tone for our next episode.
It is, Are we? Let's see. Okay, we went through that. Okay, do we want to do? Go ahead. This is your topic that you brought up, so I'll let you announce it.
So our next
just in case everyone hates it.
Yes. Our next episode, we are going to take a totally different topic, and we're going to be talking about the pioneers of geek fandom, of geek culture.
Oh,
And that's going to be like the H.G. Wells and the Tolkien and the
can you get on
Roddenberry.
our wagon? The
Yeah,
Oregon
we're going to
Trail.
die of dysentery.
Dun, dun, dun,
And
dun.
who else? Like Rod Serling and all of the Meemaws and Papas of geek culture. I'm extremely excited about this. I think
Nanas
it's going to
and
be a lot of
papas.
fun. Yep. So we'll talk more in the group about like what particular films and shows and who we're going to be deep diving talking about. But that's what we're going to be talking about is some origin stories of geek culture itself, and but specifically the creators, the people who led us down this merry path. So I'm very excited.
But I do want to preface something.
Yes.
We are not covering Star Trek. We're not covering George Lucas. I'm saying this on the record because those are 2-part episodes in and of themselves for those franchises.
Yeah.
So like,
and that's something we can cover later.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we're talking like a little bit, more niche, maybe some writers, people who've contributed to pop culture, maybe ways that you guys might find interesting.
And sci-fi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we will absolutely not be tackling sacred stuff, as Alex Aronowitz is asking in the chats. And it's not for us not wanting to. It's just like, I mean, that's like there's a lot of prep that goes. Like if you want to cover George Lucas, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Gene
You want to cover
a whole other
Tolkien. Oh goodness gracious, we were covering Tolkien. Me and Autumn have at least 10 people in our phone now that would disown us if we said anything wrong about Tolkien.
But I think just talking about some of the first creators of some sci-fi and fantasy that led the way for other people, that led the way for other shows, that led the way for other movies and new genres. So just kind of talking about some of the creators that paved the way. We're not going to necessarily go into a deep dive of the exact history of what exactly is geek culture, but we're gonna talk about some of the pioneers. We're just gonna leave it at that. Some of the pioneers of geek culture, and I'm very excited. About this. So we'll talk some more about how we'll do that later.
Alex was asking us to tackle what people find sacred, and the idea of what people find sacred. So that could be an interesting topic that we could go on. But
right.
So that will be episode 6, and I believe what was the day on that we put that down? I think it's July 30th at 5 p.m. PST.
Nope, that is what we are now. So
August, are we in July?
Yeah, this is August. July 30th. So August 20th, I believe, is 3 Sundays. 20th. Yes. We're going to have to skip a Sunday because I'm going to be traveling, but we're going to come back. That's when we're going to do it. So August 20th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, we are going to tackle the pioneers of geek culture. Okay.
Oops. No, we're going into this right now, Autumn. Today
right
is
now,
July
let's
30th.
do this. I did not do my research.
That's what I said. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Let's jump into our Explorathon. And first, we're talking about the Explorathon homework we assigned last time, and then we'll talk about what the Explorathon homework is going to be for our new topic. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go through our Explorathon here. Now, again, if you were new, welcome to Fandom Social. Like, comment, hit the notification bell, follow us at pretty much Fandom Social anywhere, fandomsocial.com. Hello at Fandom Social if you wanted to email us. If you wanted to email us, thank you.
You should.
It's super fun. We're a blast. We're a hoot. So welcome in. If you're again new, Explorathon is the name of our segment where me and Autumn essentially give you all homework. It's our watch, read, listen, book club type segment where we pick something that me and Autumn have not watched, read, or listened to mostly. Or it will tie into our topic. So our topic this time being, what is it again, Autumn?
Topic that we just did was that we're going to be covering right now, where we were mostly talking about Jordan Peele and his film. So it was loosely based because like our read was not exactly about his stuff, but it just kind of tied into it again. So what was our watch was to watch seasons 1 and 2 of Key and Peele. Season 1.
Just one.
I watched 1 and 2. Okay. Season 1 of Key and Peele, and our What's the idea?
Our listen was Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, and then our read was the UFO report from NPR. Now let's go watch, read, and listen. We could put the watch banner up again real quick. Key and Peele season 1 Autumn. What did you think? And what did everyone else think in turn?
I hadn't seen a lot of it before, just sketches here and there, and I really, really enjoyed it. I know that you had said it was fine, but I really liked it, and it led me down, when I was reading more about Jordan Peele. It led me down this. It led me down into some research where I found, I can't remember who it was saying this, but I thought it was really fascinating. Where they're saying he is all about combining horror and comedy and making comedy scary and making horror funny, but not normal funny, like where you laugh uncomfortably. So he's not necessarily about the gore and the slash. It's about the horror and like the social tension, that social horror where society is the villain, where you're so uncomfortable that you do that nervous laughter, and that's really coming out of fear and anxiety. And so he's able to make you laugh out of anxiety. And the same thing where he uses his comedy and his comedy scares you. He can scare you with his comedy again by making you feel uncomfortable. And I thought it was when looking at the lens, going back and watching more of Key and Peele after watching Nope and Get Out again and refusing to watch Us, I did see some of that. I also watched some of the Twilight Zone, which wasn't our homework, but I did that for extra credit. And I just did notice that line that he likes to watch, or he likes to dance with those things back and forth. And I noticed it in Key and Peele. One of the funniest sketches to me were the two husbands who keep hiding farther and farther away to call their wives.
Oh, yeah. I said, bitch.
And it's funny that they're also like, they're scared. And there's a lot of people who can relate to that. Like, oh yeah, that's scary. That? It's genuinely scary.
You told her that?
You said those words?
Yeah.
So good. That's what I loved. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think Jordan Peele is a great example of how similar the genre of horror and comedy are, where it's like you've got the audience you've got them in the palm of your hand, you have to deliver. And so you've got to deliver with a joke, you've got to deliver with a scare. And I think in Key and Peele, again, just for the record, I'll just put this out there, I struggled through it. I got through like 8 or 9 episodes, but I just don't like sketch comedy. Like I don't like SNL. I don't like Mad TV. I don't like Key and Peele. I don't like
puppies. I don't like pizza. None of that.
No. Allergies in Greece. Pass. No, I'm just not a big fan of that type of humor. I think like I got my entire fix when I was younger and I watched like all of the Chappelle Show. But even then, like I've gone back and revisited it, and I'm like, it's funny, but I just don't like sketch comedy. I don't know what it is. I just don't. But like again, so much of it was so good, so important, and I really liked. I think his aggression translator when he's Obama.
Yes,
that's always great.
That was good.
Classic.
His anger translator.
His oh geez, like his little Wayne is really good. Yeah. It's just his when he commits to the bit, I just like I just really dug it.
Oh my gosh, there was an episode where it's 2 black men walking in a zombie apocalypse and none of the zombies will attack them because they're black. They're all white zombies.
yeah.
And there's even zombies in a car and they walk up and the window's smashed open and they like lock the car door as they walk up. And they're like, really? Really? Their window is broken. And like it was pretty funny.
Yeah, but I mean, there's even like a the only thing I did watch is there was one sketch that I cannot believe that he did. So I was just like, there's no way that this went under the radar. And it was a sketch, I think in the early episodes of season 1, like 2 or 3, where they're at a slave auction and he and Peele are so mad because they're not getting bids. And the guy is just like, and so there's like, I don't know, he's a little short. He's a little like, he's so thin. Like, he's like, I'm strong. And so it's like just Jordan and Keegan have always had this like commentary of like how even in a suppressed area like this, even in marginalized groups of people, which again anyone can attest to, right? There's still like a level of cattiness, right? Like to it. And then the guy auctioning has to be like, hey, we're not doing that. We're not running that kind of auction here. He's like, you two need to shape up and think about yourself. And it's like, just again, this like subversion that Jordan Peele, I can't speak for Keegan Michael Key, I'm not as familiar with his work, but like has, right, is this awareness of like, we're putting you in this horrible scenario.
Yeah.
We get that this is bad. So like
some jealousy and some pettiness and some competitiveness.
That's the level playing field.
Vanity.
And so yeah, it's just, I mean, just that sketch was just incredible. And I think that speaks to like Jordan Peele being like, I mean, that whole show just being like so smart. Yeah, I loved it. I'm curious to what everyone else thought about it. I will not solely the rest of the show, and I'll just watch season 1, which is my favorite season. So I won't be real on it. Okay. But all right, so let's move on to our read segment, which is that UFO report from NPR, where it was, I believe this was from 2023, where the Pentagon was talking about hundreds of new reports that have come out. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Daniel. All right. There is so much to talk about with this, and especially now in the news when it comes to this. There's obviously more. So I wanted to take a different approach with this, Autumn, is after reading that. I don't think we've ever talked about it, but like, what is your view? And mind you, you're going to speak for both of us because we do a show together. What is the official Fandom social perspective on aliens, in your opinion?
I like how we didn't discuss
no
this
pressure.
Nope.
Improv.
Yeah, obviously, because I'm gonna use your background. Like, obviously, the Fandom social is that of course they're real, and that probably the reason why they haven't done anything yet is they're so disgusted by our behavior that now we are the trash reality show that they watch.
we're the worst timeline.
Yeah, they only make themselves appear now and then to like kick up the ant hill a little bit because they know that we'll freak out and they were like, oh, watch.
Do something.
Yeah, they poke us a little bit to make us do something. So I think they're 100% here. They just think that we are trash.
Totally. Steve Nara says if aliens exist, they are higher intelligence and therefore know to avoid us. All I will say is I do believe that aliens exist, and I think it's like mathematically probable. And I think we got a lot of alien. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at us. Look, aliens for sure lock their doors when they visit. That's Daniel.
That's Daniel.
They come visit, but they keep the door locked.
He's they're doing the what is it? Family vacation. Roll them up.
Roll them up.
Roll them up.
It's like those drive-through zoos that you can go to, and there's like emus and giraffes walking around. That's what we are. We're the drive-through zoo.
We are. Yeah, we are. I just think like there are two big moments I think people will say like in human history. One of them, I'm not going to do this alien conversation because I'm going to look like a freaking crackpot, but we've gotten a lot of we've gotten a lot of alien, wave to the blight, everyone, wave to the blight. We got a lot of UFO activity. We got a lot of UFO activity when we split the atom because like we crossed the threshold into an upper echelon of like what we can do in the galaxy. So I think aliens took notice. And then, next was when we created I think we're at like the pinnacle of AI and we're starting to get all this information coming about aliens now. It's like that's the second time is when they started to take notice. They started to kick the dust up, as you've said.
Okay, Steve made a quote that made me. Okay, so Steve quoted a great movie, like in Contact. It would be an awful waste of space if there isn't other life out there. That reminds me of the premise of that movie is that we've been beaming shows, information out into space for decades now. And at the time that movie came out, which I want to say was about 25-ish years ago, the content that they had received was like the Olympics, the opening ceremony of the Olympics with Hitler. And that was the message they were receiving about what humanity is. And I want to say maybe the reason why we're getting so much activity now is let's fast forward 25 years. That was in the 40s when that was aired. So now we're going into the 60s. They're seeing 60s TV right now.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's interesting. I want to know, depending on how far away these different aliens are, I want to know what genre, what era of television they're watching and what they think of it.
You know what show we should send them?
What are they listening to? What?
The Bear. The Bear is so good. Is anyone
They'll
else?
get it. It'll take a few decades, but they'll get it. Anyway.
We'll get to it. Our catalog is backed up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that the report was interesting. That we really just we just thought it'd be fun for everyone to listen to it. But all right, so and now moving on to our listen is Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard. Autumn, I'm sure you went through this. What did you think of this?
You know what, to be honest, I listened to that episode with Dak Shepard, who was a surprisingly great host. I had never really listened to a full episode of his podcast before, but I had heard him as a guest on another podcast I listened to called Smartless. And that led me down a rabbit hole. Like, it suggested another Jordan Peele episode of another. So then I heard Jordan Peele on Smartless. Then I heard him on another podcast. So now I'm getting them all blurred together. And I can't remember which ones were from Dak Shepard's interview and which ones were from other ones. But I just remember being fascinated. Okay. Jordan Peele is a fantastic guest. He brings a lot to the table, something different every podcast he's in with another fascinating conversation. So I honestly can't speak a lot to that specific interview because I got them all kind of mixed up.
Yeah, so I think, I didn't have the same experience. I just listened to this. And it was good. It did lead me to a different area, which is I started to listen to Quiet Part Loud, which they talk about on that podcast, which is Jordan Peele's sort of like, it's fictional horror story, which I don't really listen to. I don't like listening to stories like that. I'd rather like true crime or something that I can research afterwards. But it was really good. I also found it interesting that Jordan Peele is like, I don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, that was weird to me. And he said that Quiet Part Loud, when it came out, was the first podcast he ever listened to. And like, it makes sense, but it's also not that like surprising.
Yeah.
And but to your point, like I found Dak Shepard incredibly enthralling as like a host. Like I thought he was so good,
so articulate and honest and open, and like what a great fearless.
And Amanda, I think, is the name of his co-host. She was great too. She's a great counterbalance to Dak Shepard, who can kind of go on these. He can wax philosophical for so long, and she does sort of like bring him back when he's talking too much. Sort of like your two favorite blue shirt wearing.
Hour and 42 minutes in, I'm just saying.
Here. Hey. But yeah, it was really good. And I also found it to be incredibly interesting how much of like Jordan Peele's life I didn't know, how similar Dak Shepard and Jordan Peele were. He even calls it out. He's like, I'm sorry for constantly like talking about you, but it was the first part of homework that I did for the show. And it was a really good introduction to Jordan Peele as like a person and his humor and his cadence. And I just always I think I didn't listen to a lot of him, and I just expected him to be this like, like, I don't know if I want him to be like this, like, like chuckle yuck sort of like, hey, like I'm a comedian, or like I'm a horror director. But like I think it was weird. He was just so mellow, so monotone.
And articulate and like mellow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm curious if everyone else listened to that. I think, let us know what you thought, and if you've like discovered anything else from Dak Shepard or Jordan Peele on the audio front afterwards, let us know. But we've got to move it along here. Is this officially?
Yeah, we got new homework for you guys, and I'm excited about this homework. Get ready, guys. Get your little papers and pencils. Get your little notebooks. It's time to write down your homework assignments. Are you ready?
You like my notebook?
Mine was from Buffy. I was going to be real cute. We were going to be dorky together, but I can't find mine. Anyway.
We are dorky. We've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes about nerd stuff.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So we have got new homework for you, Autumn. Let's kick it off here with you first.
All this homework is going to be the theme of the pioneers of geek culture.
Mm-hmm. So for the next Explorathon, we have got our next watch segment. Do you want to go?
Sure.
Maybe we won't go into the details of the episode, but tell them what it is and lightly like why we're watching it.
Okay. We are going to watch 3 episodes of the original Twilight Zone series. One of my personal favorites as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Watched this so many times. New Year's Day on, I think, TBS, they would air a marathon, and I would watch it every time. Love, love, love the original. So we are going to be watching 3 episodes. The 3 episodes that we're going to watch are ones that you can draw a line between that episode and something current in pop culture or something popular in geek culture that may or may not have been directly inspired it, but it definitely, you could draw a line to it. So the first one is the episode called Little Girl Lost. And that one is a young girl, one of my favorite episodes. A young girl mysteriously vanishes.
Oh.
That is not Little Girl Lost. That is the Talking Tina, I think.
Horrifying.
Tina,
Either way, just brought that up unprompted.
I can't remember, but anyway, a little girl mysteriously vanishes into another dimension through a portal in her bedroom, leaving her distraught parents to navigate an unseen world to bring her back. This episode was a direct inspiration for the hit Netflix series Stranger Things, where a similar concept of alternate dimensions and missing children forms the central plotline. So, fantastic episode. Again, one of my favorites. It's really spooky and really cool. The next episode is called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. And this one, you can draw a parallel from this to the show Lost, amongst many other things like Stephen King's The Mist, and many other shows, Saw, the movie Saw. But this one is 5 seemingly unrelated characters find themselves trapped in a circular, featureless room with no memory of how they got there, prompting an existential journey to discover who they are and how to escape. The enigmatic setup and character-driven narrative of this episode laid the groundwork for modern mystery thriller series Lost, and also deals with a diverse group trapped in a confounding and inexplicable situation. So there, I see some people saying this episode, use that episode. I know there's so many episodes I wanted to do. For extra credit, you can watch as many as you like, but I tried to pick 3 that inspired, or you could draw a line to other things, because the theme being pioneers of geek culture.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is called It's a Good Life. This features a young boy with godlike powers who holds his entire town hostage to his whims and punishments, illustrating the unsettling side of unchecked power. This narrative thread can be seen in the Marvel series WandaVision, where Wanda Maximoff creates and controls a reality of her own, reflecting the theme of absolute power used to manipulate reality to fit one's desires. So those are the 3 episodes we're going to be watching. Will I be watching more than just those 3 episodes? You bet your sweet bippy I will. I will be watching so many episodes of the original Twilight Zone because I love an excuse to watch it. I'm going to definitely do it again. So those are the 3. We'll post it in the Facebook group later so you guys can see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never seen Twilight Zone, so.
Oh my gosh!
I know that it exists. I've seen snippets. I know about Sterling. I've actually seen the last one. It's a Good Life because I knew it had to deal with WandaVision, so I'm excited to kind of dive into this. It's just I mean, it came out 1,000 years ago, so can't watch everything. Yeah, but I'm super stoked. Yeah,
and I will definitely post in the group, and I'm also going to start a thread in there because I want to know what your guys, whoever has watched original Twilight Zone, I would love your recommendations that we can pass on to Paul, to other people, that we can all kind of watch more than. If we want to do extra credit, we'll watch more episodes and we can talk about them. But those are the 3 that we're going to discuss in the Explorathon. Okay, what do you want to do next? Read?
All right, yeah, let's do read. Let's go down the list here. So we've got our new read segment. We actually have a book this time.
Yeah.
Or like a story, right?
It's a short story, and I was nice, you guys. I picked the shortest possible short story that I could find for you guys that I felt fit this category, and it's a Tolkien short story called Leaf by Nigel, and it's an allegorical, there it is, an allegorical tale follows Nigel, a painter who spends his entire life attempting to paint a perfect tree. The narrative provides profound insights into the creative process, artistic aspiration, and the essence of legacy. It's a powerful metaphor for Tolkien's own journey crafting Middle-earth, and it gives us a unique peek into the mind of one of fantasy literature's greatest pioneers. So it is an allegory for his process of creating Middle-earth, and I think that's a really fantastic thing to tackle for. And it's, like I said, it's 20 pages long. It is part of, you can find it on Audible, but it's part of a bigger, you can find it as part of a book that is of his short stories. It's called Tree and Leaf is the name of the book. It has many other short stories in there, but this is the one specifically that we will be covering. Yes.
Okay. And lastly, our listen segment. So excited for this.
You guys, if you want to talk about pioneers of geek culture and making a geek culture moment, a pop culture moment, you guys, we are going to be listening to the War of the Worlds radio broadcast. This is a phenomenon that happened in 1938 on October 30th. Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater presented. They did a radio drama. They want to make it as realistic and immersive as possible of the H.G. Wells science fiction novel War of the Worlds. It was a series of simulated news bulletins, which suggested an actual alien invasion was unfolding. When this happened, the innovative and realistic presentation caused widespread panic among listeners, many of whom believed the extraterrestrial invasion was real. This event not only underscores the power of media, but also serves as a testament to the captivating allure of science fiction, solidifying its place in the annals of geek culture. So we are going to we're going to be listening to this. I'll drop a link in the Facebook group, but you can find it on YouTube for free, and you can listen to the entirety of it. So we're going to be listening to it, and then we are going to be researching kind of what happened around that. So if you guys will also want to read about that, we're going to discuss it. It's going to be so fun. Can't wait.
So stoked. Yeah, I haven't listened to that in years. But it's freaking iconic. But so that's our Explorathon. We'll post it in the group in a bit, as Autumn was mentioning. Yes. And that about wraps it up for pretty much a majority. We got in right under the wire.
Right, so close, right on a tight 60 minutes.
But Autumn, do you have something for us?
I do, you guys. We are going to bring back the cherry on top, which is a brief little, because this is a Sunday, but this is a Sunday. It's going to be that last little bit on our Sunday. I also like to think of it as that's really fun, but entirely superfluous. We do not need this cherry on top, but we kind of want it. So here's my cherry on top. I found the guy who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most Guinness Book of World Records held. His name is Ashrita Furman. Daniel's going to put his picture up. He has, at this time that I found out, he has over 560 Guinness Book of World Records. And you can put some of those pictures up. I don't have, this is the world's record for the most bouncing on that thing. He's got the world's record for the most hops in some scuba flippers. He's got the world record for the most for a yak sack race. So
fun.
It. He also has the most chopping a watermelon. Flipping a fire baton. He holds the record for doing that the most. He also holds a record for slicing watermelon on his own chest. I think there's a picture of that maybe somewhere, maybe not. He has the world's record for somersaulting, smashing the most eggs on his head in the shortest amount of time.
Okay.
For being the fastest at going 1 mile with the milk bottle balanced on his head. Like, he has over 560 of these world records, and he holds a world record for that.
So he's just making stuff up, right? To like,
100%.
He's made up like 550 of those.
Like how he has inflated the most balloons with his nose in 3 minutes, and that's 28.
His nose?
He has gone the longest.
No problem.
He has gone the longest underwater with a unicycle than anybody else, 1.3 miles.
Because no one else has done it.
Yes. Walking with shovels as stilts, the fastest in a mile is 24 minutes and 0.25 seconds. So he just comes up with these things that he thinks no one's done before and holds the record for doing them the best or the most. Or he finds a record that someone else has done and goes to beat it. I love this journey for him. I think it's amazing.
Here's what's bad is my immediate reaction is I want to take it all away from him, and I'm like, I can break a lot of eggs on my head.
Good luck. I think he can find new things to hold records in faster than he can take them away.
Probably.
Challenge accepted.
I don't see him doing a show. So
making a 1 hour
may
show.
Break a record.
1 hour and 53 minutes.
53 minutes. Well, thank you for that information. I mean, this is essentially a visual representation of Autumn literally losing focus. So I'll never not make that joke. So thank you all so much for joining us. Come back out, Daniel. Come back out.
Come on
Bring
out,
yourself
Daniel.
back out.
Hey,
Come on
we're
down.
back.
Hey.
Thank you so much. You did a pretty bang up job, everyone.
Thank you. We'll have to
Let's
double
do-
check assets before we go live next time.
No shade on the wrong little girl, because there are 2 Twilight Zone episodes about a creepy little girl, or about a little girl where something happens that's creepy. And that one happens to be about a talking Tina doll, which was on my list because it's the precursor to Chucky and Annabelle and all of those.
Ooh.
But decided
I
not to
think
go
that's
with
what
that
I
one.
had in mind earlier. I was like, I think I heard about this. I think this was it. Oops.
Yes. It's a
Well,
Hey,
our
next
very own Daniel has the record, the Guinness Book of World Records, for mistaking the most Twilight episodes on a Fandom social episode via assets. So
it's
congrats.
official. We've got the judge here to sign off on the paperwork. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
welcome.
enjoy it now before Hobnob Dingerdong, whatever the hell his name is, takes it away from you.
Hobnob Dingerdong. Yes.
I don't know. He looks like a Dingerdong.
So far, I've heard 3 ideas for merch during the show. To let you know.
Hey, there we go.
Hobnob Dingerdong. Well, again, Daniel, thank you so much for being here. Autumn, great job. And thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate you, Daniel. I gotta do the point thing. So while you're here, thank you guys for being in Fandom Social. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll see you guys in the group. We'll see you on, what day did we say? August 20th?
August 20th. Yes. Hobnob Dingerdong did play Doctor Strange.
He did. That was him. And, yeah, I should have known.
Of the Berkshire Dingerdongs?
Ooh, he has money.
Sounds like a character that someone we know would now make.
Yes. Well, you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us in episode 5 of Fandom Social. Again, huge thank you to Autumn, huge thank you to Daniel, and all of you. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll be in the group. You know how to reach us. Fandom Social everywhere, anywhere, everywhere, wherever you like. Have a great Sunday. Watch what you love. Listen to what you love. Read what you love. Love what you love. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Hobnob Dingerdong.